soul was born. Babe left at your door, but now I'm grown. I am strong from your embrace. Love, I'm so sure I can do anything. And when you're weak, I'll hold you dear. And when twilight dawns and leaves are down, and when you cry, I'll be your tears. With every step, I'll be your ground. Ooh, oh, my Lord, sure is a blue rain gonna rise. Sure is a ransom for the years into these eyes. I'll walk with you, and when you're weak, I'll hold you dear. Yeah. Oh, when you cry, I'll be your tear.
One of our biggest challenges, I think, is to teach all of us how to treat our friends and loved ones when we learn that they're infected with HIV. And the lesson should be that people who have been infected are not to be feared. They're not to be shunned. They are no less worthy to be treated with dignity. Walter Winchell said that a real friend is one who walks in when the rest of the world walks out. It's time we stopped walking out on our friends and neighbors and started reaching out to them. I applaud the efforts of all the groups that brought us here today, but each of us individually has a responsibility. We need to get involved in our communities, and we need to reach out to those folks we know or don't know who have AIDS or HIV. And here in Bloomington and Monroe County, there are many opportunities to do that. Ways you can serve as a volunteer or to support an organization financially. We have the Thomas H. Fox House, the Monroe County AIDS Action Group, and Positive Link, a program at Public Health Nursing Association. Each facility has a patient that you can assist in one way or another. If you've never heard of these places, please find out about them and find out how you can get involved and help people. Learn from the people who have dedicated their lives to reaching out to AIDS patients. Today is not just about being aware and remembering, but it's about moving forward together, embracing the challenges we have as a community. And it's about friendship, it's about compassion, and it's about dignity. Thank you.
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
Each 12-foot square quilt block is made up of 8 3-foot by 6-foot panels. Each panel commemorates the life of someone who has died of AIDS. This display is just a portion of the entire AIDS Memorial Quilt, which now includes more than 42,000 panels. Over 3/4 of the more than 400 panels in the Bloomington display were requested by people who have a personal connection to someone who has died from AIDS.
And I'll take with me the memories, the river sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
And this exhibit today contains more than 400 panels. While the AIDS quilt frequently brings home the painful reality of the AIDS epidemic, it also provides a place for the sharing and comfort. It's an opportunity where we can offer genuine love and compassion and caring for those families and friends and loved ones and even strangers that have been affected by this epidemic. The AIDS Memorial Quilt is the largest example of community art in the world. In closing, please permit me to share with you the goals that we have for the exhibition of this quilt. First, this display is a creative means for remembrance and healing. While we have the opportunity to illustrate the enormity of the AIDS quilt, we are all painfully aware of this opportunity. And we have the opportunity to increase public awareness of the AIDS area. And we can assist with HIV prevention and education by raising funds for community-based AIDS service organizations. Thank you for joining us today, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.
Diane Welch, Art Alliston, Charles Jackson, Tony Vandenherk, Alan Long Steckline, Nilda Espinoza, George Rose, Gary Falk, Paul Keenan, Tony P.,
David Poole, Ray Stefan, Larry Wong, James Wright, Dale Dunbar, Charles Gillespie, Steve Hayes, Jack Hyatt, Robert, Ron Lamb, David Blue Lonson, David Rainier, Jack Cottle, and Brad Dorer.
Jim Gannart, Tom Booth, John A., Kenny, Randy Anderson, Jeffrey Love, Stan Darby, Joe Curie, Bill Hushler, Leander, Stan Darby, D.B., Bill, Laverne, Michael Carper, Howard Jordan, Guy McCurrick, Paul Kenny, Stephen Morris, and J.R. Trotter.
Thomas Fox, Jerry Eves, Joe, Jody Strong, Armando, Michael M., Bill Bagley, Bill Bell, Joe Catalano, Pat Bonfiglio, Jim Cochran, Scott Humphreys,
Anthony D., Harry Adams, Kenneth Kammerman, Mikkel Weiler, Kip, Steve Ferguson, Christopher Esley, Greg Hay, Bruce, Ted Shello, Patrick McGee, David L.,
Stephen Wolf, Leighton Weinsberg, Charlie McPhee, Mike Stiles, H. Allen Wallace, Wesley Manasco Jr., Bevan Harvey, Randy Myers, Alfred A. Garcia,
Charles Ray Tanner, Jeff A Holy Roller, Mad Dog, Jim Robert, Christopher Chris Hill, Jennifer Lynn Folsom, John B. Rutkowski, Joey Bolin, Roy S., Michael Joe Smith, Warren C., Steve M., Jeffrey Russell Gates, David Michael, Howard Ashman, Scott Maitland, Messy Marvin, David A Holy Rollers, Mike Farrell, C. Nick, Angela Folsom, Reverend Bob Hearn, Tony, John A. Crick, Bernard B., Tony H., and Monica J.
Avery T., Michael A., Deborah M. Goodrich, Wesley D. McLaren, Rod Braver, Greg Maloney, Billy, James M. Sobieski, Michael James Bird, James Charles Seabrook, Lawrence Botello, Bill Macklin, Tom Bustamante, Donald E. Brown,
David Allen Hamilton, Bob Rowe, Marcel Bedard, Fred Hibbard, Robert Winchester, Scott Carlson, James Howard Lucas, Michael Black Allen Holland, George Tony Anthony, Bill Murchison, Jim Roberts, Terry Tobato, Stephen Waste, Tony Anthony, David Donow, David Heller, Paul Marat, Al Calkin.
Thank you. The quilt is now open.
Okay, this is a display of the Names Project AIDS Memorial Quilt. I felt it was important to bring to Bloomington for a variety of reasons. One, to help honor the people who we've lost to AIDS, to promote education and awareness of HIV and AIDS, and a large one too is to raise funds for local AIDS service organizations, which would include the Thomas H. Fox House, Monroe County Community School Corporation's HIV/AIDS education programming, and Positive Links care coordination program. It's obvious the people here a lot of them have ties to the quilt, have an interest in HIV and AIDS. They're very respectful, very understanding what this is all about. I saw a lot of emotion, extremely happy. We can end AIDS discrimination that still exists, that we have more compassion for people who are living with HIV and AIDS. That people remember. Don't forget, get more involved. There's, I believe, a false sense of security about HIV disease at this point in time, and that we do have some good medical treatments that have kept people alive longer. It's not a cure, and I'm really concerned about that false sense of security it's provided. We don't have a cure, we don't have an effective treatment for HIV and AIDS. And I just hope people remember that, it's not gone.
Michael Gomes, Kenneth Perkins, Leonard Van Orden, Salvatore Thomas, Marino Vincenti Estasi, Robert Moore, Timothy Jean Hurt Jordan, Dr. Michael Shanklin, Jamie T. Leary, Richard
If you would like to read names, you may approach.
George Samanico and Kenneth McDonald. Kenneth M. McDonald. Kenneth McDonald.
Billy O'Rourke. Becky Beneters. Bruce Bliss. John. Robert Christensen. Victor Caldron. Bobby Janelle, Greg, Todd Braver, Scott Hamilton, Lee Allen Wilson, James R. Carter, Ross Gordon, Eugene Wetzer,
Larry Schmidt, Daniel Richard Foote, Don Lake, Kurt Deal, Randy Crocker.
Ernest Griffin, Kenneth Fines, Theodore Scott Taylor, Billy Joel Bayless, John Bensmiller, Bud Hoyt, Tom Aquario, Stephen Sokolov, Tracy Z, Bill, Tom Greer, Eric Sharon,
Charles Lispy, Steve Hayes, Curtis Wood, Harold Brown, Ray Franklin, Stan Darby, Julio Day, Brad Dorr.
Kenny, Joe Curry, Bill L., Leander, Stan Darby, DB, Kelly Brown, Laura C., Bill Pennington, Carrie Banks, Gary Wade, Ryan White, Richard Vila, Wesley Manasco Jr., John Kaysen, Cynthia, John Burnett, Ricky Wibbenmeyer, Terry E. Scott, Michael John Grillo, R.N., Teresa Ray Rismiller, Rick Lancaster, Mira Howland, Rod Braver, Greg Maloney,
Bill, Jim Roberts, Terry, Stephen West, Tony Anthony, David Heller, Paul Murat, Bob, Rick Stubbs, Jerry Ward, Joshua Adams, Mike Richards, Tom Fox, Jerry, Kevin Myers.
Michael passed away on March 7th, 91, and I started on the panel probably in June and dedicated in February at Louisville, Kentucky to the AIDS quilt. And we follow it if it's within 500 miles. My husband and I try to go. I think Mike would want us here, and I think it's to show our love for him. This is Valentine's Day, and he never forgot Mom or Dad or his three sisters on Valentine's Day. And I think he's happy that we're here, and he'd want us here. Put a lot of information on Mike, and I've had people in Washington, D.C. and different places tell me that they enjoyed reading it. His schools he attended, his work, he worked for 2 different airlines in his short lifetime. And I put on his favorite flower, the yellow rose, and his dog, which passed away the same day he did. It may sound like a fairy tale, but it did happen. The dog laid down and died the same day Michael did.
And I'm just glad that the citizens of Bloomington have an opportunity to come see this kind of event and to realize what a marvelous opportunity they have to see the impact of this epidemic. Because when you see it like you have like you can in this exhibit, it's not quite the same like reading about it or seeing a video about it. This brings it home. This gives a face to this epidemic. And that's what people need, I think, for them to realize how overwhelming and how devastating the epidemic is. Well, it's given us an opportunity to help memorialize our son. It's given us an opportunity to know that his interests in education and in prevention are somehow being realized. And I think he'd be proud of that, just the same way he would be proud of the Thomas H. Fox House. The Thomas H. Fox House is a marvelous addition to the Bloomington community. It's a facility that was built with grant funds and other funds that came from a person who was interested in seeing the house built. And now it provides a place for 5 clients that have HIV or AIDS to live in a non-discriminatory and a loving environment. It's a house where there's volunteers that work at the house to help support some of its activities. And I think it's a house that Bloomington can be very, very proud of. I think it's marvelous to have seen this community and its many support activities just grow immeasurably over the last 12 years. I think for anyone seeking information now, for anyone that wants to get involved, for anyone that wants to contribute their talents or their creative abilities to this area, there's opportunities for them now to become involved. It takes work to become, it's not easy, but you just have to go out and seek ways in which you can become involved.
We meet tonight, gathered to dedicate new panels that have been stitched and pieced together by loved ones. The closing tonight is not a final parting, but a recognition that there is a lot of love represented in each of these panels. For many of us this evening, it is painful to again separate ourselves from our loved ones who are represented in this artistic tribute. But hopefully, we have been reminded that memories of our beloved will remain with us long after the panels are carefully folded and moved along to touch more lives at other displays.
When I was diagnosed with AIDS in December of 1997, my doctor pointed to my good fortune, that new treatments were being discovered, that research was constantly probing the mysteries of HIV, the immune system, and that was all true. My good fortune, though, was not all in medicine, and not siphoned from the very fitful Godhead of science. My good fortune was that many people went before me, preparing a path that I could follow, spending their dwindling life force creating memories, sharing their experiences, protesting in the cathedrals and in the capitals, making clear that the real victim of AIDS was a society that shunned them, tried to ignore them, claimed that by their very lives they deserved what they got. Like me, they were never all things to all people. They were someone's joy, loved profoundly, missed constantly. They claimed a country for me, unselfishly. Honor, dignity, compassion, courage. They are small words to describe my debt. They refused to go softly into that dark night Indeed, they are my heroes.
525,600 minutes, 525,000 moments so dear, 525,600 minutes.
Several individuals and groups from around the community have donated new quilt panels to be added to the display. In honor of the women, men, and children memorialized through these new panels, and the friends, family, and loved ones who created these living symbols, tonight we will dedicate these panels. Bill Bush and Dick Nolan. A panel submitted by Celia Bush, a niece of Bill Bush. Randy Allen. A panel donated by the Indiana University Union Board Major Attractions Committee, along with Randy's niece, Lori. A panel donated to all who have been lost to the disease by the Indiana University Student Association and submitted by Brian Harmon. Jerry Dale Hayden, Jr. A panel created and dedicated by Leanne King, Teresa Chambers, Courtney, Bryce, Cassie, Bob, Tony, Brian, Susan, Lisa, Ken, aunts and uncles and grandparents, and parents Jerry and Sharon Hayden. Alan James Neal. A panel created by Ruth Neal. A panel dedicated to those who have been lost in our local community by Positive Link, and submitted by Deb Wilkin, Julie Bolin, Kim Pock, and Doug Bailey. Bruce Horst, created by his mother, Carolyn. I would now like to ask all of you surrounding the quilt to join hands as several of our friends living with HIV help us bring this display to a close. You may now go ahead and fold the quilt panel.